What's good? What is up, HBCU family? It's your girl Destiny Kerr, a senior public health major hailing from the Show Me State herself. Currently in attendance at the illustrious Xavier University of Louisiana, the top sixth HBCU. Here today to kick off a series of interviews in partnership with the HBCU Experience Movement, we'll be talking all things dance with their latest book, The HBCU Experience Dance Ed Edition. Now listen, this is an amazing book with some great notable alumni. Y'all know the vibes. Hashtag HBCU Pride. Today we have here the Impact herself. Not only is she a Southern alumni, but once a member of the fabulous Dancing Dolls. Act like y'all know. Working actively within her community, she mentors young dancers in the making. Today we have here Prentice Garrett. I know I probably messed it up, but it's okay. We here, we ready to go.
It's okay. Hi.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's a Wednesday. We almost down to the end of the week.
You
So that's
right.
what matters. Yes, yes. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am Prentice Garrett, and I am an alumna of Southern University, and I'm a former 4-year Southern University dancing doll. I majored in biology while I was at Southern, and I do have my bachelor's in biology and my master's in educational psychology from University of Georgia. And I'm working on my second master's in curriculum and instruction from University of Louisiana Lafayette. And currently I teach high school. So I teach 10th and 12th grade. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm an Aquarius. My favorite color is red. So what else? What else do you want to know? Um,
So what made you choose Southern University as your HBCU?
so the story's really kind of funny. I will say this that my mom attended an HBCU. She went to Spelman. And I didn't know the breadth, like the depth or intensity or the meaning behind HBCU at the time. I just knew my mom went to Spelman. And so just to segue to the next point I'm going to make, Southern came to a Battle of the Bands in Atlanta in 2005. At that time, I was not on my high school's dance team. I was a cheerleader. I was a freshman. But I had danced. That was the first thing I ever did. And so I saw this band and I was like, who is this? They only had 5 dancers at the time. So this is me being transparent. I'm like, who in the world is this? Like, and they played what was it? Young Jeezy. It was Young Jeezy. And then what? From across the field, loudest thing I ever heard in my life. And I was like, who is that? So, my friends who were in the band were like, that's Southern. That's Southern. How can you not know, Southern? And I'm like, sorry, my bad. And then I noticed they only had 5 dancers, and I was like, what they gonna do with 5 dancers? They put me to shame. They could dance. They could roll, and they made it look so just effortless and like class and technically trained. And again, I have to emphasize they made it look easy. Like, and I know like a minute doesn't seem like very long, but imagine sprinting for a minute and a half long. So it takes a lot to be that perfect, be that in sync, that level of technique, and then stay focused when you got a band behind you that's like blowing your eardrums out. Um, so that was my first experience. I was 14 years old. I had never heard of Southern. I had never heard of the Dolls, and I was like, oh my god, oh my God. Like I immediately tried out for my dance. I was dancing next year, my sophomore year. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, I was like, I'm gonna be a doll. Like
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't tell me that I was
Yes.
to be a doll. So that's my spiel. That's the background.
Okay, okay. So real quick, because we're gonna dive deeper into your, freshman year, sophomore year, all of that. But
Okay.
tell us your experience as a fabulous dancing doll, honey. We need to know.
Okay. Well, first of all, it was fabulous. Without saying, but no, it was one of the most life-changing experiences ever because it led to so many other things. And just being a doll, I can honestly say this: being a doll, it comes from the outside. It's not what's on you; it's what's in you, right? So I gotta say it. You are a doll from the inside out. And it was honestly, again, one of the most humbling experiences, one of the most developmental experiences. I learned myself as a woman. I learned myself as a dancer. I learned myself as a collaborator, as a teammate. And it even taught me things about being a leader later, because I wasn't a captain while I was on the team. My craft sisters were, two of my craft sisters were, Casey and Sierra, but I wasn't. But I mean, we got to dance with Madonna for a Super Bowl performance where there was Nicki Minaj, CeeLo, LMFAO. We did a battle of the bands in my hometown in Atlanta. We got to open with Shaka Khan. So all of this was because of dolls. So that was like my first taste of professional experience. I mean, honestly, I could just go on and on. My captains were Jessica Roche and Datara Frank, and a lot of the things that they taught me as a dog, I could still hear their voices in my head when I do certain things. And I'm just like, no, again, I'm very relentless. And I remember that. So dolls is very important to me in that way. Like, I still carry a lot of the lessons that, I learned in those 4 years with me as a woman, and I'm 32 now. So we can go year by year. I guess I could start with my freshman year.
Yeah, so of course, walk us through your time on the yard at Southern, because Southern, I know I'll be popping now. So from freshman year.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and lead with this. I was never a party girl. So if you're looking for the party girl stories as I was a doll, I'm not the one that's gonna give it to you.
Oh
But I
no,
will.
we're looking for your experience, not the
My
party.
experience.
Yes.
So my freshman year, it kind of got off to a rocky start. I hurt my knee, so I missed my first 4 games, which was I was way more sad than I let on. But I missed my first 4 games with my craft sisters, and I didn't dance, I don't think, until Tennessee State. So that was the most, like, for me, solidifying thing. I was like, oh, I'm a doll. Like, for real. Like, I was thinking that to myself the moment I stepped on the field. It was, I'll never forget that feeling. But freshman year is also a very challenging year. On top of starting later, missing my first 4 games, it's a developmental period. And I don't mean as, primarily you are going to learn yourself as a person and a woman, but learning the style and the legacy that is doll, because we're all trained, we're all trained dancers, but there is a style that you have to have. And so that was difficult for me as somebody who, I always learned fast, I always executed things well. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to learn it fast and execute it. It needed to fit with the style. So that was the hardest thing for me to master. And I'm sure anybody will say that about their freshman year, is mastering the style. The high school that I came from was not, at the time, did not emulate Southern. So we did more of a bucking style. So that's what I was used to. And I kind of chose Southern. That was another reason, because I wanted to step away from that. Like, I wanted to do things that looked more effortless and more elegant. To me, that's what I wanted to do, because I felt like that was in short supply at the time. So at Southern, just mastering that, kind of toning down my dance style, learning to with sensuality, learning to move effortlessly and still give that outward appearance that's entertaining, because you don't want to be boring. That's not the people that see a show. So that was the hardest thing for me as a freshman. And also at first, you have to humble yourself, because you're the freshman, you're the new person. And I was coming from being captain at my high school. So that was just a humbling experience, to take myself down a few notches, trying to master a new style, not getting overwhelmed, not giving up, not taking anything personally, because I had, and I'll argue, some of the best old heads you could ever possibly have, that want to continue the legacy, and are basically, they're preparing you for the days that they aren't there anymore, so that you can later. So freshman year is that tough year for everyone. Now, the sophomore year is kind of fun, because now I'm not the rookie anymore. We're not the freshman. The expectation is still high. So sophomore year, I was a lot more confident myself, and I was able to have more fun. It's more
Mhm.
carefree as a sophomore doll, but still, you're still trying to prove yourself,
Right.
um, and prove your worth, to the team. Let's see, did any interesting things happen sophomore year? Mm-mm. No. Oh, but this was fun. So I did have the pleasure of dancing with my captain twice. She was there in 2009 for our crab class, and then 2010 with April Rollins,
Mhm.
Beatrice Alfaro, and Angelica Taylor.
Mhm.
So I did have the privilege of dancing with our captain twice, and that was good in itself in that we got to see her leadership develop. And
Mhm.
I was able to pick things out from her that I liked and I carried into my life as adulthood. Now junior year was a tough one because junior year, nobody's holding your hand at all.
Yeah.
And junior year is also the year where a lot of people are eligible for Greek organizations. Um,
Mhm.
junior year for me as a doll, I was working. Um, at that time, I was seeking membership into Alpha Kappa Alpha, which I am a member of, fall
Okay.
an initiate. Um, and I was dancing and I was in school. I was a biology major. So my junior year was
Mhm.
very intense. Um, the expectation for me as a doll with a parent who lived out of state, meaning I was an out of state student, we had out of state fees.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you can relate, but
Oh no,
yeah, so
them fees be up there for out of state students.
but yeah, so the expectation was to keep my grades high. So I had to maintain, at least a 3.0 if my mom was going to continue to help me fund my education. On top of working, I was a resident assistant at Southern. So a few people might be watching, they might remember me. I was her as the RA. And like I said, working, school, and being a biology major is super intense. It's one of the more intense majors. We also had engineering majors. And I believe at one time we had nursing majors. It's very, very intense because the expectation to execute a performance is there no matter what. You have to put on a show. Now senior year is it's the bittersweet year because again nobody's holding your hand, but instead you're doing the hand holding. So by then I think and I thank God for them every day to Tara, Jessica, and just learning from my craft sisters too. Also Kayla Smith, I danced under her. Um they help make me a great senior. Your job as a senior is to guide your freshmen to make sure that they're prepared for when y'all aren't there anymore, to uphold the legacy, all those fancy things. Senior year and junior year. Junior year, I believe, was the Super Bowl. So that was our Super Bowl year where we danced with Madonna. Senior year, we did a Super Bowl again, I believe. However, it was a pregame performance. So I did get to do two Super Bowls. That was fun. Um,
So how was that? How was dancing with Madonna?
girl, let me just say this. She was the most humble person, so
Mhm.
kind-hearted, her children, the entire staff, honestly. It was
Mhm.
like I'll never forget it. I will never ever I could never forget it. The trips, the cold, the practicing, that was intense as well. Aside from her being a great person, like Madonna was amazing. So I have zero negative comments there. It was a training experience. Like I had never worked at that level before. I thought,
Mhm.
dolls was a lot, but I mean, the professional dance world is intense. I mean,
Mhm.
we're practicing, I know had to be 12-hour days. Um all day, all
Mhm.
day, same pieces over and over and over and over. Um, but yet and still, Madonna was just very like gracious, like the whole time.
Yeah.
She spoke to, she spoke, she asked our names, I believe. We met her children at the time who were a lot smaller. Um,
Mhm.
they were just complete gems. The whole staff, the other dancers, her normal crew of dancers or her tour dancers, I believe they were. I mean, just the nicest people. Like, it was the most beautiful experience that made me kind of be like, maybe I could do this after and this wouldn't be so bad. It was a good taster.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that I got that opportunity and I got that opportunity through Southern, um,
Mhm.
Dolls and through the jukebox. So, I mean, half of my resume is because of Southern. So I I can never ever forget that. And that experience with Madonna was like life changing, one in a million. And I'm so thankful that she's whatever she saw, whatever clip she saw, or whatever was shown to her, or whatever made her say, I want the dolls. I am so thankful because I don't know. I guess I didn't think that much of myself at that time that the Madonna would like be like, hey, I want y'all to come be in my Super Bowl show.
Yeah.
Crazy. That was crazy. Like I I don't even know. I'm still in disbelief to this day. To this day.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing for sure. Shout out to Southern for the opportunities, man.
Yes. Heck
'Cause
on the opportunity, Southern. Thank you.
yes. So real quick, because I heard you were talking about crab sisters, crab. So to somebody who doesn't know what crab is, I know what crab is. Can you tell us a little bit about what crab means?
It's just the term. I just came into it, and that was the
Hmm.
term that was presented to me. I had never heard that before Southern,
Hmm.
except in Drumline, in the movie Drumline. So
Right.
I'm gonna just keep it a stat. We did not use that in high school. I was like, what is that? I didn't know. But it's just a way that a term was used for somebody who's a first year in a band, a first year dancer. So nothing else really attached to it. But like I said, I never heard the word before. I was like, I'm a what? So okay, sure, whatever. But that's all it means. But my craft sisters, I still call them my craft sisters. Are Casey Greggs, Chauncey McCoy, and Sierra Cole. So those my girls. We're still tight to this day. To this day.
Yes.
So
Period. Yeah.
mhm,
So to somebody who, so I know you talked a little bit about, freshman year coming from your high school and, you were not used to the style of dance of Southern. What would
mhm,
you tell somebody watching who may want to, become a dancing doll or want to, golden girl, whatever, and they're
mhm.
not used to that style of dance?
My biggest advice to you is to immerse yourself in that, whatever you choose. A lot of girls from my high school, they end up at South Carolina State, Alabama A&M. We've produced J sets. We've produced dolls. I'm the second doll from my school that I believe. But it's to immerse yourself in that style. I watched as many videos as I could get my hands on. I took a DVD from one of my friends who was in a band. Please forgive me, I never gave it back. But I guess it paid off. It was worth keeping. So yeah, but immerse yourself in that. Do not try to make someone else's organization fit you. You need to mold yourself to fit that organization because these things are built on history. These things are built on legacy. And that's what you're there to do, to uphold that, not disrupt that.
Mm,
So that would be my biggest advice is be an empty cup and immerse yourself in their style, in their
mm,
expectations. And that'll get you off to a good start.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So out of all of your years on the yard and all of your years at Southern, what was your success year?
My success year, I'm gonna say my junior year, even though it was the hardest, that is when I felt the most doll like, I'll say. I had, really mastered myself, my body, like learning to move. That was one of my highest GPA years, which was crazy to me because I'm like, I'm trying to join an organization, I'm dancing, I'm working full time, and I'm a biology major. That was my best year in school, but I persevered and I got through it. So I'm like, junior year, you couldn't tell me a thing. Like I was like, if I can handle this, I can handle anything.
Okay.
I could do anything. If I could do all of this and not, kill over,
Mhm.
oh, I'm built tough. So that was definitely my success year for dogs,
Yes.
school, for everything.
Okay, shout out to you because working, doing all of that, yeah, you did your big one. You
Yeah,
stood, you stood on business.
that was the one. I stood on what the kids say, I stood on business.
Stood on business. She stood on big business, y'all. Big business.
10 toes down. That's something
Okay, so
else.
from working, doll, becoming a woman of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. What was her post grad life like?
I'm gonna be honest, post grad life was a shell shock. I will say this, since I was a biology major, I was a fifth year senior. So I had 1 year in school where I was not a doll.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most bittersweet thing ever because when, 3:30, 4 o'clock came around, I didn't know what to do with myself because there was
Mm-hmm.
no practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to fill my time up. I got another job. I did like summer internships, things like that to fill my time. But I did kind of get to experience the life from the other side, from the
Mm-hmm.
student side. So I got to go to some games. I got to buy me some lemonade. I got to sit and watch the band and the dolls and say, "Oh, so this is what people look at. We
Mm-hmm.
are cool. Like, we are the bee's knees." So after that, grad life was slow. I didn't get into a career right away, but I did become a sensation. I was a New Orleans sensation, 2014,
Mm-hmm.
2015. That was another learning experience for me. And I have to be honest, I tried out because I wanted to see what a professional experience process was like.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, I was like, I'm good, but I guess I was being too humble at the time, and I was like, I'm good, but I might not make it, and that's okay. This is my first go round in this type of audition, and when I made the team, I I hollered. I was like, what? So that was definitely a learning experience, but that was my first taste of like full time, any
Mm-hmm.
type of professional realm. And I did have another job at the time, as well during the day, but that was what I did in the evenings, my weekends. And that taught me just how big an organization can be and
Mm-hmm.
what comes with upholding the expectations for an organization of that magnitude, because there's millions of dollars involved. So you have to carry yourself in the way that you're instructed,
Mm-hmm.
on someone else's dollar and dime. So it was a big switch from college, dancing in college, because now you're like I said, you're on somebody's dollar and you're on somebody's dime, and you're representing a multi-million dollar whatever organization. So that was cool. Um, I do actively do things as an alumni events as they come around. So I do try to
Mm-hmm.
stay connected to that. My craft sister, Chauncey McCoy, was a sensation as well. Um, so yeah, but it's definitely worth doing. She was also a Pelicans dancer. She and I both were. We didn't get to dance together. Um,
Okay.
but that was another post grad experience. I switched over from Sensations to Pelicans just because I wanted to do a broader range of style of dancing, and I was more accustomed to hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried out for that and was like, here I go again. I might not make it. This is my first time, but it's okay because at least I know what the process is like and what to expect. And then I can, like I said about dolls, immerse myself in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Try it out, made the team. So I said, oh.
Yeah.
um, we have a little visitor walking past me. That's my darling. Um,
Hey.
but yeah, so in that time I also did alternate certification for
Mm-hmm.
teaching. And my first teaching job was at Brookstown Middle Magnet, in Brookstown, Baton Rouge. So
Mm-hmm.
that was an experience. So I finally got into education there. And my first year teaching, I taught and I danced for the Pelicans. So that was a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a multitasker. So
Moving and grooving always.
proven. I'm always busy. That was an experience, but it was all developmental. And
Yeah.
there's not one thing or situation, whether it was in the classroom, on the field as a sensation, or on the court as a Pelicans dancer, that I couldn't tie back to dolls.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't one, so it was like I just always remember, being punctual, being where I'm supposed to be, try know your choreography. And in the NBA, it's really intense because you're learning like, I don't know, two dances per practice,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe 3 or 4 within the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're constantly learning material, and the expectation is for you to know it, for you to execute it, and to represent that organization to the specifications of the powers that be.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts. And I can attribute all of my discipline in it being able to execute those expectations back to dolls,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is upholding their expectations, upholding the legacy, upholding the brand. Um, so the post grad, it was awkward for a while because I had invested so much of my time in doll, but I did pour myself into other avenues of dance
Mhm.
through cheerleading with the NFL, through dancing with the NBA. And I even worked at Southern for some time as a contractor, as a hip hop instructor. I did that for several years, well over 5, well
Mhm.
over. And that was just an experience that taught me, number one, put yourself out there. 2, be sure of what you have to offer and bring to the table. And 3, know that people are always watching you, and they're using your gumption and your grit to motivate them just by seeing like, okay, somebody can get out there and do it. Somebody can get out there and make it happen, and they're fearless, and they're just like, well, either this will work or not, but I'm gonna try it. So I could definitely say, um, post grad was difficult at first, but very developmental, very positive overall. Um, and thinking of everything that dolls taught me is what helped me build through those tough moments, and continue on and persevere.
Yeah. So, in upholding that legacy,
Mhm.
you are now an author in the HBCU Dance Edition for the HBCU Experience Movement. So, how does that feel?
Insane. I was just talking about this maybe an hour before we started, and I was like, this doesn't feel real. You know, sometimes I think I over humble myself, or I'm very modest sometimes. And I just was thinking back to all the I was thinking back to all the moments in my life where I didn't think that, you know, things would be how they are, like that I would be, hitting these mile markers or hitting these milestones in my life. And I was just like, this is, we all go through tough times. And I was just like, man, this is really it. Like, just this is all it's ever going to be. And so every time I achieve something, especially something like this, I get to call myself an author, is it's mind blowing. I know what my talents are and how far I can go in life, but it's still every time I get a confirmation, it's mind blowing. Like my mind is blown every time, like it's my first accomplishment ever. So I'm thankful, I'm happy, I'm grateful, all of those things. For whomever recommended me, shout out to you.
Shout out to Miss Little.
Yeah, yeah, and just everything's been so seamless and just I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm excited. I'm grateful. So that's all I can really say.
Yeah, yeah. So before we go, can
Okay.
you tell us a little bit about your chapter or what we can expect from your chapter?
What you can expect from my chapter is honestly just my experience leading up to auditioning,
Mhm.
um, and then onward into becoming, and then what the afterlife looks like, not only for me but for my craft sisters as well. So it's
Mhm.
just more so about the journey. Um, and it was a sweet one. I wouldn't take
Yeah.
it back. I wish I could do it again every day. Um, but yeah, so y'all are gonna love it.
I know that's right. Let them know. Let them know. We get to get on this chapter.
You guys are gonna love it. I hope that I'm not a bore or anything. So but yeah, y'all are gonna love it. This is my nervous talk now. Now I'm just saying anything.
No, you good. You good. You good. So before we go, let us know where we can find you on social media so we can tune in, interact. I know some people watching this, y'all might be young dancers in the making, even some dancing dolls in the making. So let us know where we can find you.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at forum. That's FORUM. Dot dance dot co. And that's the Instagram page for my LLC. I do private contracting. I do camps. I do one-on-ones. I do professional development.
Businesswoman.
Whatever is gonna help build up young dancers to be successful in audition processes,
Mhm.
whether that's high school, whether that's college, whether that's NFL or NBA. I want to share any little piece of knowledge I have that I
Yeah.
know will help them, because I didn't have a lot of that. I was very fortunate to have a few dolls before me who were honeybees before it was the pelicans.
Mhm.
sensations before to kind of look at and emulate and use as motivation. But it's not often that this happens. So any young lady who is willing to receive my help or the little knowledge I do have, I'm more than willing to give it to them. So again, that's forum.dance.co, and that's on Instagram, or you can follow me at _P.Nicole. That's NICOLE. Okay. But I enjoyed everything. Got any more questions for me?
No, we are good to go. It was so good to meet you. Shout out to Southern. I love me some Southern. And shout out to y'all one and Bayou Classic.
We love you too, honey. We love you. So nice meeting with you and everyone. Thank y'all for watching, and peace out.
Bye, y'all.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening.